Hey, we're going to talk about the best way to pay youth sports officials. Is it cold hard cash? Is it digital? Does it matter who pays? Today, we're going to find out. And at the end, I'll give you my three key recommendations for the best way to pay youth sports officials. So, if you're an assigner or you're a sports organization who pays officials, you're in the right place. Let's go. Hi, I'm David Van Wiggeren. I'm a co-founder of Notch Sports. I'm a certified soccer referee and a president of a soccer club just outside of Chicago, and I've paid a ton of officials over the years. Everything from cash that we didn't track incredibly well, all the way to instant digital payouts connected into an assigning platform. There's a ton of ways to pay, and they each have pros and cons. So we'll get into it. Let's start by discussing who typically pays the officials. So there's a few general ways this can happen. Sometimes it's an individual assigner who makes the actual payment to the official. In this case, they typically are invoicing the competition, getting those funds, and then distributing the funds to the officials. Now, when I say competition, I'm really talking about the club, the league, or the tournament that collects the funds from all of the participants for the game. There's also the model where the assigner schedules the officials and only schedules, and the competition pays the officials directly. And typically, when this happens, the assigner is sending a report to the competition that they use to make those individual payments to the officials. And lastly, there's a new model emerging where the assigning platform itself is collecting the funds from the competition just in time for the games, and then the officials are paid directly and instantly by the assigning platform. We'll talk more about this in a minute. Next, let's talk about payment methods and the pros and cons of each. So, first up, in terms of offline payments, is cash. And if you talk to a lot of old school officials, nothing beats an envelope full of cash. It feels good. I mean, anybody who's got some cash after working a game knows what I'm talking about. There might be a tendency not to report it, and also maybe not even tell your spouse about it. So that happens. But for the person or the organization who's responsible for paying officials, carrying around lots of cash is a problem. It's not only dangerous, but it's also a logistical nightmare. You got to stop by the bank first. You have to hang out at the event all day, find the official, worry about theft, and then it's a little bit harder to report or at least keep track of. So the process is so inefficient, it's virtually impossible to scale paying people with cash. And if you think you're avoiding the tax man, you really got to think again. Then there's checks. And while this is less dangerous when it comes to theft, and it might be a little easier to keep track of, you still have to be there physically to hand these things to the officials. And inevitably, somebody leaves the event without picking up their check, and then you have to mail it. Now you're mailing checks, and now you're hoping they arrive, and you're reissuing checks, and canceling checks sometimes. It's just not easy either. And checks aren't exactly instant for the official either. They receive the check and then they have to deposit it. And oftentimes there's a waiting period before those funds are good. So it's difficult to administer and it's not as good as cash. All right, let's move on to some digital payment methods. Now, there's a ton of benefits of online payment. We all use it, but the bulk of the benefits are really for the assigners or the organization doing the paying because online payments are easier to automate, they're easier to track. You don't have to physically hand anything to the officials. In fact, most youth sports organizations today are using the first method here, ACH or online banking, to do their payment. The process of reporting, invoicing, initiating the payment, tracking the payment, this is all very scalable and it's great for the assigner. The problem is, even though this is all digital, officials have to wait to get paid while all that process is happening. It's common in the industry for officials not to get paid for weeks, sometimes over a month after a game. I don't know about you guys, but if I have to wait for weeks or potentially over a month to get paid, I kind of feel like a volunteer, like I'm doing the assigner a favor. It's just not very motivating to work a game and know you're not going to get paid for a long time. You don't know when you do get paid if the funds that you're receiving are actually for the right games. Did they pay you for all the games? The amounts don't always seem to jive. And so it's really disassociating the reward from the actual activity. And that's a problem. So if you ever wonder why it's hard to get officials to take these roles, work these games, this is a major reason. We have to be honest about this. We're always complaining about why there's a shortage of sports officials in the industry. This could be a major part of that reason. Yes, there's of course abuse and maybe low pay, but we're asking people to work and then not paying them for weeks. So, Assignors, I'm telling you, if you want there to be demand for your games, you have to pay your officials quickly. All right, if you're getting value from this content, please like and subscribe, of course. We love making the content. It helps us know that it's something you can use. Moving on to payment apps. This is how I actually used to pay referees back in the day in my recreational soccer league. I didn't want to have to physically distribute anything to officials after games or tournaments. So what I did was I would collect their payment details, whether Venmo or PayPal. I'd get that up front. And then after the games, I'd spend a few hours processing payment to each individual official. The good news is officials got paid super fast and they loved that. And guys, I'm telling you, that drove demand for my games. However, I still had to first generate reports to know what to pay. Then I had to spend the hours processing the payments. And then I still needed to manually enter those payments into a separate system for long term tracking. And at the end of the day, I was still responsible for issuing 1099s. So, all in all, my officials were very happy. But for me, it was pretty inefficient. Okay, this next one's relatively new, but it's a major game changer. It's instant payout within an assigning platform. So it's intended to be the best of both worlds: process automation for the assigner or the organization that's doing the payment, but crazy fast payments for the officials. We'll use the Notch platform to help describe how this works. Now, again, I work for Notch, so my apologies. I'm going to do my best not to bring bias into here, but I do know the solution well. I have access to the platform, so we're going to use it as the example, if that's all right. So let's jump into that example. First, when we set the competition up in Notch, and again, the competition is either a tournament or it's a league, but when we set them up in Notch, a payment method's put on file. It's either an ACH or a credit card. An auto top up is turned on. So, what does that mean, auto top up? That ensures the funds from the competition are available just in time for the games scheduled in Notch. So, check out this payment schedule. This lets the competition know what funds are going to be needed when, based on the game schedule. Next, when a game completes, the head official uses the Notch app to submit a simple game report, and then the assigner reviews that game report, and when they approve it, each one of the officials gets paid instantly. And the officials even have the option to move funds to their personal bank account same day. Again, that speed of payment, it builds loyalty, it builds trust, and it keeps the officials coming back for more games. And I really want to drive this point home. I was on a call recently with a new Notch customer who had a big tournament weekend coming up. It was 750 games. It was Tuesday before that weekend. And he said, Dave, I don't know what's going on, but usually at this point, I have dozens of roles that I'm trying to fill. I'm on the phone, I'm texting people, blast emails, trying desperately to get those roles filled. He said, I have 4 open roles right now, only 4. And I'm not sure exactly what you're doing at Notch, but let's keep doing it because it's really working. And this is a common theme that we hear from a number of our customers, and it's why we believe so strongly in instant payouts. We really believe that paying quickly drives demand for your games. It's really that simple. All right, here are my 3 key recommendations for paying sports officials in the best way possible. The first recommendation is, for most of you, get out of the business of paying sports officials directly. It's a massive administrative headache, and it puts you at risk with the IRS. Next, get officials paid fast. This really helps drive up demand for your games and helps you fill those open slots easily. And lastly, consider using a fully integrated scheduling and payment solution. It really is revolutionary to have something working for you 24/7 to help you schedule games and to pay out instantly to those officials. So if that last recommendation sounds interesting to you, shameless plug, keep watching through to the next video. It goes into more detail about Notch. That's it. Thanks for watching. If you've made it through all the way to the end, you're a true hero of youth sports. We hope you like, subscribe, and comment so you can see more of this content, and we'll catch you next time.